My name is Brad Branham. I teach math at Columbus North High School. Teach all different levels this year. I'm teaching mostly geometry and algebra 2. This is my 15th year teaching there at Columbus North. And just excited to get to talk with you guys.
Great.
Great. And which math levels do you teach?
This year I'm teaching mostly geometry and algebra 2. I have a mixture of kind of lower level courses and upper level courses. We do have some tracking at our school, so I have a mixture.
We're so excited to see how teachers are coming to understand that before good learning come social, emotional, motivational strengths. How students are learning more about teachers as people and building trust. We'd love you to expound on these topics.
Sure. Well, to start with, I just want to say that in the classroom, I believe that my favorite part of being a teacher as a math teacher is to facilitate my students working collaboratively on tough, challenging tasks and really facilitating productive struggle. And to me, the biggest challenge of moving to this online medium is that the students are missing out on that. And the number one thing that I'm interested in as an educator is to find a way for students to still work collaboratively on tough problems, and for me to be able to question them and respond and extend their thinking while they're working through tough tasks collaboratively. I have had multiple students of mine mention to me that they miss their study teams. They're used to working in study teams on a daily basis, and I'm definitely interested in learning more about how I can make that happen. It seems to me like right now they're telling us that we can't really require students to be online at a specific time. We can offer up options to be online. So it seems like an impossible task to get groups of 3-4 students working together on a problem at the same time, but it's one that I'm very much interested in experimenting with, and I haven't given up on yet, and I want to learn a lot more about how to do that.
I want to dig into that, but I do think it's important to acknowledge that if you told most high schoolers, hey, in this class, you're going to just really, really struggle on hard math in front of a bunch of your friends, they would say, that sounds like the worst experience of my life. And now, in the midst of a crisis, it's what they miss the most. So, either they were totally wrong at that time, or you've created a minor miracle in your class with the foundation that you laid.
Yeah, well, I mean, the curriculum, I have to give a lot of the credit to the curriculum that we use, because the curriculum that we use from the very beginning of the year develops students' discovery learning and learning through problem solving collaboratively with their teams, and they all get team roles, and so it's kind of a precedence that's been set for most of the school year. Some of the other things that I'm experimenting with are, first of all, I want to say one of the things I'm experimenting with is posting the full solutions online for everything. Full solutions, posting full solutions for their homework, their classwork, and later on their tests, but obviously not right up front. But posting full solutions and understanding that a student who is acting responsibly can learn a lot from the solutions, and that's something I experimented with and have had pretty good results. Luckily, we had a lot of time in the year to build up that the process of solving is more important than the final answer, so it's not completely new to them for this school year.
So there's so many things we want to ask about, but one thing I know Carol and I are both interested in is, what are the ways that you're keeping students engaged, right? In the in-person synchronous class, even if a student was kind of disengaged, they'd still wander in the classroom and maybe pick up their head at some point. Now, who knows? So how are you developing procedures, technology, norms, routines, peer connections? What's that look like for you?
Thank you. Good question. Well, the first thing I want to say is that I believe that meeting with my other colleagues that teach that same course has been huge for me. We set it up to where the other teachers that teach that same course are meeting twice a week. Our students are going to classes or given assignments on Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. So we're meeting on Mondays and Fridays with the other teachers. And that has really helped that we kind of split up the work. So we make a plan for the following week. And then we all kind of delegate tasks to one another. And then we come back together and share and evaluate each other's, learning. We evaluate each other's learning activities that we prepared. We did try to settle upon some sort of a routine where Tuesdays they learn the new material through Ed Puzzles, and Desmos is where they learn the new material through. And most of the Ed Puzzles, we created our own videos, and then we integrated thoughtful questions throughout the videos. So they'll be watching a video that we created, and then somewhere within the, at different points throughout the video, it'll like stop them and make them answer a question before they can continue with the video. And then Desmos is just wonderful with the quality of activities that they have. So we typically on Tuesdays, we'll give them Ed Puzzles and Desmos activities to learn the new material. Wednesdays, we typically use Khan Academy to help practice the new material so that they can get some immediate feedback, and that they have the access to videos to help them through Khan Academy if they get stuck. And then Thursdays, we typically do some sort of an assessment on Go Formative where they have multiple ways that they can respond to the question, and we can respond back to them and really take get a lot of data to use to help inform how we want to do instruction the next week.
Wait, so it sounds like in the last few weeks, you guys have completely retooled your curriculum and come up with an entirely new 3-day version of high school math using available software.
Yeah, pretty much. I had never used Ed Puzzle or Go Formative prior to this. However, I had used both Desmos and Khan Academy, decent amount.
So it sounds like teachers are also having to kind of have a growth mindset about their lessons, and they're kind of forced to blow up their perfect plans that gave them control and predictability, and try things that are new.
Yeah, I mean, luckily, we've been trained pretty hard in growth mindset for the last several years, so we've been working hard at developing that growth mindset for quite some time now. And the curriculum that we use, I actually train other school districts to use that curriculum, and they have lots of Carol's and Joe Buller's videos are intertwined within the teacher professional development. So I've had even extra access than a lot of our faculty to the growth mindset, developing a growth mindset.
Great. Carol, do you want to get to your questions? Oh, mute. Hold on, Carol, we're going to unmute you. Oh, I can't do it.
I did it.
Aha, there we go.
Yes. Although I'm very good at pantomime, I think the accompanying words are help. How do you find the balance between keeping students engaged, learning, on track? How do you balance that with the other responsibilities many of them now have for earning money for their family, for taking care of younger siblings? How do you find that balance for students?
Well, my first thought to your question is we're forced to soften our deadlines a little bit and understand that students are going to turn in things at very different times. Some may turn in at 1 o'clock in the morning. Some may turn in, first thing. I post at 8 a.m. and some have it turned in by 9:30 or 10. Others are, 3 days later at, 11:30 at night. I honestly don't have as much insight into what the children are experiencing at home as our administrators do.
I see.
I have had multiple students in my lower level classes who are not engaging at all. And by at all, I mean not even signing on to the management system to even see what their assignment is. And I have made several phone calls to these students, and almost every single student that I have talked to up to this point, and I'm sure there's exceptions to this, as the administrators could probably tell you, but almost every student I've talked to at this point, my first question to them is, what obstacles are you facing to completing it? And almost every single student has said they have perfectly fine internet, they have a device available to them, and they have just chosen not to do any of it. So it's tricky when they don't even sign on to see what the assignment is, to get them to get them to engage.
Are you having new virtual office hours or new ways of responding to students? And is that helping put a greater emphasis on the learning goals rather than in the old days, maybe just getting the grade and turning in the assignment?
I'm really glad you said that. I think that brings up a good point, because one of the questions that I was told we were going to be discussing is, what are some ways that you see this changing education and what should stick around? And I do think that it requires students to be more self-reflective of their own understanding, because they don't have a teacher observing them every day working and expecting the teacher to, kind of catch them not understanding, or they have to advocate for themselves and be more self-reflective. And that, I think, is a huge benefit of this. As far as teacher office hours, we're required by the district to be available from 9 to 3 every single day. On Tuesday through Thursday when they're given that, and then we're expected to be available to work even on Monday and Friday 9 to 3. So I'm always available at those times. I have chosen this semester not to just set up like a daily Zoom time. I chose not to set that up, and instead kind of really communicated to my students that it was important to me that they communicated with me when they didn't understand it, versus me just kind of taking care of that or taking over for that for them. And so most of the time when students, ask me a question or tell me they admit that they're not understanding something, I typically respond by making a screencastify video of myself. And I typically don't give them the full solutions. I try to ask them questions in that video, and then try to, after they watch it, touch base with them again and ask them questions about whether they understand it now or not. But Screencastify is another tool that's been just monumental for me since we moved to this new format.
Yeah, so like a related question is, when there's no kind of test score looming, do students feel like it's, and teachers feel like it's kind of a relief that they can focus on the ideas and the learning rather than a test score?
Mm-hmm. And the self-reflection on their learning versus woo.
Yeah, that's true. We are still giving, chapter tests and such. So I wouldn't say that there is no test score. I will say that we're always providing multiple attempts and edits allowed and those type of things, to where they take it, they see what they missed, they ask questions about what they missed, and then they have a chance to edit their responses. However, they're not just getting no test scores at all. I've read a lot of the research and talking about, you give a student test score and feedback. They typically only look at the test score, the feedback, but when you give them feedback only and no test score, that's when you seem to see the most growth. And that is something I'd like to experiment with, that I can honestly say we haven't necessarily experimented with at this point.